Do you know the secrets of making friends?
Welcome to the first ever Patreon exclusive.
Is this the right posture?
Robot!
Hello!
Hi, everyone.
One thing I'm having difficulty with is in regards to the Flag Smashers and Carly. Now, again, don't get me wrong. I actually really like her character, and I like the Flag Smashers.
I agree. Yeah, that's great.
But what I'm having trouble with is understanding what their actual goal is and why they're doing this. And maybe it's just me. I understand that after the blip, borders were closed up again. It was the world was working together and people were living in newer houses. People that didn't have homes could have homes now because there was all this availability. And then the blip comes and now these people are back. And let's say I was living in a house now and now the blip comes and it was your house. You come back, you're like, I'm alive, dude. You got to get out of my house. So a lot of that was happening. And that's just, that's a one thing that happened. If you remember Spider-Man, they lost their house, but they just moved to another place. They didn't kick them out.
Well, with Spider-Man, that Spider-Man movie happens after this one.
Yeah.
Happens after Falcon Winter Soldier. So I'm sure they've fixed some things in their processes. Just like you, I really like Carly's character, but I kind of get it. And it was kind of explicitly stated this episode where the tide has risen for all of the boats that are remaining. So everyone's in a much better position than before the blip. They knew and understood and lived for 5 years of just everyone helping everybody to be better. Yeah, sure, at some point in the future, most likely the class system would come back just because that's probably inevitable. But for immediately that to all be ripped away and being forced back into that position, I would probably rebel too, honestly. So I kind of get exactly everything that they're going through. And would I do it differently? Possibly. But no, I totally see where they're coming from.
But what are they trying to accomplish? Like, what are they going to do?
I think ultimately they're just trying to make it so, yeah, sure, you get half the population back, but let's still continue the mentality of everyone's helping everybody out.
She says that, but I mean, she's killing people. That's why.
Sam kind of brings that up, and even her compatriot brings that up early in the episode, too. It's like, we don't need to kill people to get to where we need to go. And the conversation that Sam has with Zemo feeds into the conversation Sam has with Carly around the path it looks like you're on is not great. Like, you're more a supremacist. Mm-hmm. You can still do what you want to do, or you can still get what you want to get, but just do it differently. But I think Carly might be at the point of where she's tried everything that she can think of. So she's just run out of options, in her opinion, where Sam's kind of bringing her back of like, no, there's a good way to do it. You still got options. Let's go this route. Right. And obviously, and then they get interrupted and all that kind of stuff like we talked about. But I think that's ultimately where they're going to take Carly and her character.
So the final scene, the scene that the title shows, the whole world is watching, seeing that shield and that anger just go through that guy's head. And then that last shot with the shield and blood all over it. I think that's going to become one of those Marvel iconic scenes that we're going to see, pictures of and posters of. I mean, that was so brilliantly done. That's our shield, our love for Steve Rogers, and blood all over it.
Be sure to subscribe to our podcast. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at CKC Podcast. And if you'd like to support Jason and Christina and would love even more content, including bonus casts and movie reviews, join our Patreon at patreon.com/CKC Podcast.